a green approach to business. Energy is perhaps the single most critical resource in the modern world. Our homes and businesses have become more and more dependent on constant access to electricity. But as prices rise, we need to start thinking about where our power comes from and find better options. While there are no easy choices, there are many ways to change how your energy is supplied. Over the next half hour, we will be discussing the future of power supply with some of Britain's leading energy providers.
We have three divisions. We have the battery charging division, we have the welding division, and also we have the solar. I currently work for the solar division, which was established in the UK in 2009. We have two types of products, a commercial and domestic inverter, and the larger ones ranging up to 100 kilowatts, while the smaller ones go all the way down to 1.5 kilowatts.
Commercial Services was formed about 70 years ago, providing services to schools throughout Kent and the South East, and it's grown organically over that period of time to £1 million a day business. We're different because we are private sector by head and public sector by heart. So whilst we consider our services to be viable, sustainable and profitable, we do things the right way for the benefit of our shareholder, and our shareholder is a public body.
My objective is to build the TCP brand in Europe, the Middle East and Africa, and at the same time develop a marketing strategy and implement it fully in these markets. We are a specialist in lighting solutions, so we make a range of lighting lamps covering eco-halogen, CFLs and LEDs. These replacement items that consumers buy through the retail distributor channels and install themselves in their houses. Our products tend to be leading edge, cost effective and offer value for money.
Energy use and carbon emissions are of course much bigger than any business. They are both national and international issues, requiring a great deal more focus before we can start to reduce and reverse the problems we've caused.
I believe the government could do a far better job on educating the public on how to save the planet. This can start in schools, for example. We already have road safety education at schools, we have sexual education at schools. I believe if we had energy saving education at schools, teaching young children about saving and reducing electricity consumption at the house, this would benefit us going forward as a nation.
Fronius views on the government's incentive, the Go Green, fantastic. It literally really did kickstart the industry into being. Fantastic awareness to the consumer, and I feel okay, it's levelled off now, but we're still looking good. With regards to the government, we have housing associations. Private industries, we have British Sugar in Norfolk, and we have the Eden Project down in Cornwall. We also have different supermarket chains, retails as well, where subsidiaries such as Aldi and Sainsbury's.
The government has a number of very good green initiatives for business and consumers. Unfortunately, a lot of them are aimed at large public and private organisations, such as reducing carbon emissions. A good example of how businesses are responding to the price of energy is local councils. They are now investing in smart street lighting or intelligent systems that automatically turn on street lamps, turn them off depending on the traffic that goes past, whether it's pedestrian or vehicles. Turns down the light, turns it up depending on the amount of light, ambient light available. For example, you could be walking through a park, the lights come on as you walk through, and once you've gone, 1 minute later, they turn off, therefore saving light and reducing the light pollution as well.
The regulations on emissions are complicated and are varied. They come from both within Europe and across from UK government, and are challenging for the energy producers and for those consuming energy. And it's a minefield for customers. We're able to interpret that minefield for them and help them on their journey through that minefield.
Making a difference to your energy costs begins with behaviour. However you source power, decreasing the amount that you consume always carries a significant benefit, bringing down both costs and carbon emissions.
Another initiative that the government is bringing in is new legislation that will outlaw old lighting technology and force consumers to adopt new lighting technologies such as LEDs. This will save households going forward in energy consumption, as the new lighting technology is far more cost effective than the old technology, and reduce their consumption of electricity.
Two ways of looking at energy. One is about reducing your usage, and it doesn't matter therefore what you pay. If you can reduce the amount of energy consumed, then that's a beneficial way, and there are all sorts of clever ways of doing that. LED lighting, insulation, and clever metering and clever switching. But that's only one half of the argument. The other half of the argument is to manage the way energy is purchased more effectively. And a number of our customers don't have access or leverage as major companies would have, and we're able to offer a brokerage service and a unique service to our customers, whereby we can access and lever down the cost of the energy. But you really need to do both. The energy market is difficult to predict because the cost of generating energy is significant and the usage is not flat. Usage is cyclical, depends on a number of factors: weather, topography, the number of people using that electricity at any time. For example, gas at lunchtime on Christmas Day is a high usage, and during the school day and during the factory day, all of those have an effect upon the grid and the production of that energy, and all of those have an effect on the cost.
The energy market is extremely complex. It's a global market. There are many factors that affect the price, both from a supply side and a demand side. For example, the Fukushima disaster in 2011 created a supply side problem in Japan that increased demand for alternative energy sources. The effects of that were felt across the world. Renewably sourced energy can provide a good deal. It depends on the customer's objectives. If the customer is looking for the lowest price of energy, typically renewable sources are more expensive. If the customer is looking at a more holistic view of their energy procurement, including the impact on the environment, then in that instance, renewable sources do provide a good deal.
Coal, gas and oil, there have been poor methods of trying to extract that resource, while nowadays we have solar, such as PV generators and inverters, which are extremely quiet. There's no mechanical parts, and there's very little heat generated, so noise, pollution, heat and everything is reduced dramatically. Well, basically is that you're using the sun's irradiation to produce from DC current to AC current. That can be fed back into the grid. The consumer can make some money. Everyone's happy.
Renewably sourced energy has become a popular approach for businesses looking to decrease their environmental impact. While emissions are becoming increasingly relevant, this isn't an attractive answer for many companies who need to save on energy costs.
One of the concerns in the past has been is that you have Farmer Giles, for example, and he doesn't know when his inverter stops working. So it could be a month, it could be 6 months, or it could be a year, and then suddenly finds out, according to his bill, that it's not been working. So we now think is that data monitoring, system monitoring of the equipment itself is extremely important. Whether that be a local monitoring by connecting the inverter by a cable to a bell, or by actually sending it to the internet so they can view it online, or their buddies can view on how much they're making.
I think our customers do care about carbon emissions on a number of levels. I think most people are now agreed that global warming is an issue, and many people do believe that global warming is being caused by human intervention. Therefore, I believe that most of our customers have an objective to reduce their carbon emissions and therefore their impact on the environment, both by reducing the amount of energy they consume themselves, by procuring that energy from low carbon sources. Also, our customers have a focus on carbon emissions, as many of them have to submit a CRC return, a carbon reduction commitment return, each year. And again, that's an area that we help many of our customers with, both in terms of collecting the necessary data and also, where required, submitting that CRC return on their behalf.
At the moment, electricity prices have increased by over 50% in the last few years, and this trend will only go one way in the future. By adopting immediately LED lighting technology, households can save themselves a small fortune by adopting energy efficient lighting.
Generating your own power is seen as one of the most attractive avenues for reducing power bills, but it's not without challenges. Firstly, it requires some significant capital investment, which can be a barrier to entry. Secondly, the rapid pace of advance continues to change the landscape of renewable power generation, making it hard to find the best technology.
For us, the way that people waste energy at the moment or in the past has been the actual management not switching off appliances in the evening, or at lunchtime when they go away, they don't switch off the monitors. Also, but the technology as well has been pretty old. So it's all about the new technology. LED lighting, has greatly improved the actual consumption of electricity, which is reduced dramatically.
Energy saving strategies have been challenging. We've been into a recession and out, and the cost of energy is rising for a number of reasons. One is green taxation, and that's about carbon emissions and making sure we look after the planet in which we live. And the second is the cost of producing energy is getting more expensive, as is the taxation applied to it. So when you think that we're moving away from coal-fired furnaces for generating electricity, those have to be replaced. Those have to be replaced with capital builds. That comes at a cost. So managing your energy more effectively and paying the best possible rate you can has become all the more important in recent years. Business owners, depending on the size of the organisation and the energy consumption, either have their eye on energy or their eye completely off energy. If they're a major manufacturing unit, they would have their eye on energy. It would be a major factor in their livelihood. If I take an average small and medium-sized enterprise, their energy bill would be quite small as an overall expenditure. However, it's one that they are able to influence and able to drop money straight to the bottom line. And if I look at a public body, a school, a local authority, a leisure centre, the amount of energy consumed will be in their top 5 spend areas, and therefore is something that needs to be attacked, but it's not always on the radar.
A simple switch to energy efficient lighting devices such as LEDs would save the UK a lot of energy. For example, if every household in the UK was to have 3 LED lights installed, this over the course of a year would be enough to light up every street lamp in the UK. At the moment, consumers spend £1.9 billion on electricity in their households. If we were to change to more cost-effective lighting solutions, this bill would come down dramatically.
There are 2 main areas that I would recommend the customer focuses on to reduce their energy costs. The first is reduce the unit price for each unit that they consume, and that's achieved by procuring in the most effective fashion that meets your objectives. That doesn't necessarily mean the cheapest price, because that cheapest price might come with an unacceptable level of risk to your organisation. Having got the unit price right, you should then focus on reducing the number of units you consume by appropriate energy efficiency measures. Many of our customers have embraced energy efficiency technologies. I think, as with all areas of expenditure, they need to be cost effective. We see significant savings. At the smaller end in our Lumina business, we've seen savings of over 50% of previous energy spent, and typically we're running at in excess of 20% savings for those small businesses that we've helped. At the larger end, dealing with large organisations, both public and private sector, we still see savings in excess of 10%.
Whichever approach you take to reducing the power you use, the time to start making changes is today. Costs will continue to rise, and soon the market will force every company to adapt.
The importance of managing the way you buy energy has become far more important in recent years for a number of reasons. The cost of generating energy has become more expensive, and that's because we're moving out of coal-fired furnaces, and those new methods of creating electricity are expensive and come at a cost. And secondly, the way we manage our electricity and green taxation, European levies, government levies and taxation have put a greater burden on top of the additional cost of generation. So it's more important that customers, both individuals at home, but also small and medium-sized enterprises and large bodies have clever ways of purchasing that energy from the suppliers. And we've been able to demonstrate savings north of 50% on the way energy is procured for a business, and that can be a significant saving and go straight to the bottom line. So the numbers are quite high, and particularly small and medium-sized enterprises are not looked after by the sector and can pay premium rates without realising that they're paying those premium rates.
Currently, renewable technologies, for example, the last couple of years have been solar, have been wind turbine and heat thermal. Out of those three particular devices, systems, whatever you want to call it, solar for me, or for Fronius I should say, has been the best because one, there's no noise generated, there's no components, mechanical parts apart from the fan. Well, if you look at a wind turbine, it's a big thing, it will generate a lot of noise. So you can use them in small consumer products or small companies, they're not obtrusive.
I think we've seen an increase in commercial installations due to the rising cost of electricity, particularly the latest increases in electricity costs. I think it's made more commercial premises think more about what they're spending on their energy costs.
I believe more businesses should become greener and pay more attention to protecting the environment. This can be as simple as using recycled paper. Any outside personnel that drive company cars or vans can be trained in road safety, and as a consequence become far more fuel efficient in their consumption of fuel, therefore saving both the company and the planet money. Saving the company money and the planet.
For many, the relationship between customer and energy supplier is a simple one. They provide power and you pay the bill. It seems like there is little room for bargaining, but for large buyers there is significant room to negotiate for the best deal.
The key environmental issues that I believe businesses should be considering is reducing their environmental footprint as much as possible. This can be by, for example, minimizing light pollution, i.e. turning off lights at night that aren't required. These could be signs, office lights, garage lights that are not required. It could be as simple as switching off unnecessary lights. So as you move from one room to another in the household, for example, you go from the sitting room through to the kitchen for supper, you turn off the lights in the sitting room that you don't require, thus saving energy. Going forward, households will be equipped with intelligent systems that will do this automatically. So as you move into a room, the lights will come on, and as you move out, they'll switch off. They'll also be able to be dimmed depending on your requirements. If you want to read, they can be turned up bright, but if you just want to regard the television, for example, you can turn the lights down through a remote.
The environmental impact of energy consumption can be managed in a number of different ways, and that's right from generation, which is not within our bailiwick, right through to usage. And the primary source of that is to reduce your usage and stop leakage of heat and light from our customers. And we're able to provide that wraparound service to ensure that they manage that efficiently and effectively. And that has a double effect. It reduces the carbon effect of what they're doing, but also reduces cost to the customer.
Very exciting times for Fronius at the moment. We have many new products coming out. The fact is that now we're looking to step up the mark where we only had up to 100 kilowatts. We're now looking to go up to 400 kilowatts. But even that, we have this kind of new thing about the 24-hour sun. So now we're thinking is that can we actually now be dependent, so we're not relying on energy just on the daylight hours, but we can actually use it in the winter months and in the evening. And we have this thing called a hybrid inverter, which will be available next year, where it'll store itself into temporary storage of a battery. Also, long term, it can do it inside of a hydrogen cell, and that will be stored and then basically can be sent back into the grid at a later date or into the household itself. The 100 kilowatt system is mainly used for small businesses or for farmers, while the 400 kilowatt will be for bigger organisations, solar farms and such like.
All businesses can reduce their environmental impact. It can be as simple as switching off lights that aren't being used at the moment, to having selective recycling facilities, to turning off lights at night that aren't required. For example, the French government has just brought in legislation forcing people, shops, businesses to turn off lights at night to reduce energy consumption. I don't think the UK needs to go that way, but I do believe that companies should be thinking far more about how they use lighting and how they should maybe turn it down or turn it off going forward. Earth Hour is a very good initiative whereby between 8:30 and 9:30 at night, large public buildings turn off their lights. So to emphasise how the planet can save energy by being more thoughtful about how we use lighting at night.
The green agenda has become a part of everyday life and is starting to become ingrained into our behaviour. However, we all still need to be aware of what more we can do, as well as the impact that we have on our bills and the world around us.
Very interesting is that nowadays, because technology has advanced so much, is that lighting, we can now use LED lighting, which without a doubt consumes less electricity, is smaller. The electrical components now within PCs, within automation, is smaller, so it generates less heat, therefore it needs less electricity. We also have battery charging systems within Fronius, which makes it more efficient, cheaper to run, and the longevity is improved as well. Inverters, without a doubt, the last couple of years have improved technology-wise. The components have become smaller, so if they become smaller, they generate less heat. Also, they're more efficient as well. Technology had advanced, which can increase the length of the product itself, which means we can offer a longer warranty as well. Another key area for us now to promote has been the monitoring side of it. You really need to know if that inverter has failed. So this can be either sent to the internet itself, or if it's a very simple system, then you can send it to a bell on a farm or a light or something like that. So monitoring is key.
At the moment, consumers do not realise that lighting is a hidden cost. New lighting technology can bring down dramatically household bills by using more energy efficient light bulbs. If every household in the UK was to install 3 LEDs in their house, we would save enough electricity to power the whole of the UK street lighting.
Overbilling in the energy sector is a significant problem. Our recent experience shows that anywhere up to 6% of invoices received are incorrect. There are 2 things that we do. The first is that we ensure that suppliers are holding the correct data on customers before they even start billing to increase the likelihood of that invoice being correct. We then check the invoicing when it's received in order that before our customers see the invoice, they know it's been checked by us and that it is correct. We collect data from a number of sources. We collect their consumption data, both before the fact and after the fact. We collect industry charging data from a number of sources in order that we've got a full view of our customers' usage and the costs associated with that usage.
The future for energy is still uncertain. Changes are being made, but there is always more that we can do. Both universal public awareness and the wide adoption of advanced clean technologies are critical for a world where energy continues to be something we can take for granted.
Our vision for the future, the company, is 24/7. What does that mean? Well, that basically means is that during the winter months and the times of darkness, we can still have this energy independence. It's still available. Now and in the future, there will be The possibility of being totally independent with regards to renewable sources such as solar. Solar, even more interesting now, has the ability for an inverter which converts DC to AC energy to store it in a battery short term, which means it doesn't have to go back into the grid, which is great, should we need it, but also long term it can go into something called a hydrogen fuel cell. Extremely complex piece of equipment, but the prices are coming down, and that could be then in a few months' time be fed back into the grid.
In order to provide a complete energy solution, expertise is required in a number of areas. Expertise is required in wholesale markets, in terms of how those wholesale markets affect the price that the end user pays and the factors that drive those wholesale markets. Expertise is also required in retail markets and the link between wholesale and retail.
Going forward, the lighting market will go through a dramatic transformation, and we will be part of that. For example, in the household, lighting technology or intelligent systems will develop into be able to control your central heating at the same time, your home security if you have one, and even be able to turn on your washing machine or dishwasher when you're away from the house. And we'll be part of developing that technology and ease of use for consumers, because whatever we have to do has to be done with consumers in mind and make their lives easier for them and more cost effective.